Yes, we just started.
Okay, you can hear that. All right, thank you. So yesterday's session was wonderful. Yeah, chapter summaries of the life of the Buddha by Bhikkhu Nyanamoli were insightful and rich, and we only scratched the surface of our scheduled topic. So we couldn't do much to cover up that. Tonight we'll turn our focus to the Buddhist perspective on politics, exploring how the Buddha's teaching have informed from ancient India's republics and kingdoms to modern contexts, views on governance, power, and the ethical responsibilities of rulers and citizens. Let's dive in. We have here Jason. I think, Jason, we were missing you yesterday.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I fell asleep. I laid down to read my chapter, and I wound up sleeping until 6:30 this morning. So I'm sorry that I missed yesterday.
Okay. Yeah. So it's okay. You can either do it today or maybe you can just turn your summary in. That should be okay.
I can do that tomorrow, or I could just post it to the class, whichever on Google Classroom.
I think, yeah, we don't have a class tomorrow, I guess.
Oh, that's right. Okay, darn.
Right. That's okay. That's okay. You
I'm
can
sorry.
just send us the summary, okay?
Okay,
Yeah, that's okay.
thank you.
Thank you. And so, so for the class today, we have Buddhist perspective on politics. Yesterday, I think I also talked a little bit about that. I think 32 speeches, remember? 32 unskillful speeches start with politics. So theoretically, we can talk about politics. But then this is part of our course, and also maybe for pariyatti sake or for education purpose, we also have to learn why the Buddha has actually not recommended these talks. We will discuss later if the time permits. Okay. So our next book will be Buddhism, a very short introduction. So Mark, you can also select any of the paragraphs, chapters that you would like to give a summary out of the 9. You can select anyone, and we'll have another session on, it's going to be August 8th, right? Yeah, so we'll have another session to cover the entire book. Mark, you can also ask Venerable Kongyang of yesterday's class so that you can have a look. What we did yesterday was a fantastic day with all our students covering up the entire 400 book. All right. So yeah, so we, if you want to go through this little bit of the ancient India and the region where the Buddha taught and lived. This is very interesting how he was very active in these places. You can see Lumbini, where he was born in the far um, over here on the top left, and then Kapilavatthu, the Shakya kingdom, the and then the Savatthi, where the Jetavana monastery was located, and also Pubbarama was located. And this is where the Buddha actually spent most of his rains retreat, 25 rains retreat out of the 45. So he was basically very active there, and most of the sutta were actually preached there. When we hear the sutta like Savathyang Viharati Jetavane, right here, the Buddha preached them. And I had the privilege to actually visit that place, and you feel that energy, vibration right away when you see that the Buddha's Gandhakuti, where he was living, and all the other wonderful, wonderful enlightened monks, and all those beautiful places are there. And a lot of people actually go there to visit and also to practice meditation. And most of the traditional Buddhist people, they would like to go do some chantings, circumambulate. But I think people in the West, they would really like to go there and meditate. And this place, very interesting place where you literally think like, oh, that's a massive structure. But the infrastructure over there is very simple. Buddha's Kandakuti itself was very simple. His bedroom, that was where his kuti, the entire kuti, very simple. And also the most important Dhamma Sabha Mandapa, like where the Dhamma assembly took place. Whenever the Buddha, you know, went there to the Dhamma assembly hall, the other monks were having some Dhamma discussions. The Buddha said, if you don't have anything else to discuss about the Dhamma, you just keep quiet. No silence. So hundreds of monks were there, like most of the time, in pin drop silence. They were just focusing on themselves. And a lot of monks were sitting and practicing and waiting in silence until the Buddha comes and starts. So sometimes they would also discuss things, and then the Buddha would start with, what did you talk? What did you discuss before I came here? And then they would explain, and then the Buddha would start like that brainstorming. So Buddha had different pedagogies. Sometimes he would ask Q&A. Sometimes he would go to someone's, case study for somebody's past life and connecting with the present habits, and how did that person uh, behave like that, and why was he doing it. So many things, suffering or whatever. So the Buddha would um, explain to the monks, and if there were only monks at the Dhamma Sabha Mandapa, Dhamma Hall assembly, and that time Buddha would go deep into the Dhamma. He would not go like simple talks. He would go to very deep Dhamma. And if there were like lay people, sometimes in the evening time, lay people also would visit. Sometimes business people, other people, like even the kings. And then he would look into the audience. Depending on the audience, he would also explain certain things. So these places like Savatthi and Isipatana, where you can see Isipatana here, Saranath, where the Buddha's first Dhamma sermon, Dhamma Chakkapavatana Sutta, took place. And I also stayed there like few months, and I had the opportunity to chant the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta every single evening. That's a beautiful place. Isipatana means also interesting word, like the falling of the rishis, falling of the saints, falling of the sages. It is said those days, lot of practitioners, they were practicing in the Himalayas, and then they would, um, they would be airborne. And this is the like the arrival point. This is like the airport for those monks. So it is said like Isipatana. So the falling of the Isis, they would see like those skybound, airbound saints come there. The people call it Isipatana, Ising Patatiti. And then there was another mountain close to Rajgir that was called Isigili. It is said Isingilati Isigili. That's a mountain. That mountaintop. A lot of practitioners also would actually go there and airborne again, like by some spiritual powers. During this time of the period, the era was so full of very, very highly motivated spiritual practitioners. They're not only Buddhist people, like there were Buddhist Buddha's followers, there were many others, very uh, high profile meditation practitioners were there. So Isingilatithi means that mountain was like swallowing the Isis, swallowing the saints. So that is why it was called Isigili. And why it happened, like when the monks were like airborne and then suddenly they disappeared. And when they land on the mountain, and then Rajgir is called Rajagaha. Now it is called Rajgir. That's Vulture's Peak. Another Gijjakuta Parbat actually is Vulture's Peak. Rajagaha also is a famous place where the Buddha gave certain Dhamma talks. Buddha Gaya or Bodh Gaya, you can see like in present day we call Bodh Gaya. We also call it like Buddha Gaya. It's the way they pronounce actually. So close to Uruvela, the three Jatila brothers and over 1,000 Jatila followers also joined the Buddha order that day, that time. Very famous again for practitioners to practice Magadha. Magadha is famous for King Bimbisara and King Ajatasattu. King Bimbisara was a Sotapanna person. He was also the one who offered the Buddha the first ever uh, temple, what we call Veluvana Monastery or Venuvana Bamboo Grove. We had the opportunity to actually plant some bamboo trees over there. We had a project to plant some bamboo trees, so we still have some bamboo trees over there. If you go there, you can see that. And in Kosala, you have Pasena Kosala. I had someone was calling yesterday, like Pasadena, Pasadena, a city here in California, I know. So Pasenadi, Kosala was there, and Queen Mallika was also there. And Benares is very famous for silk saris, and also there is Varanasi, the two rivers meeting together, Varuna and Asi. That's why it's called Varanasi. And this is also another very famous place where lot of practitioners, even today you can see if you go to the Varanasi, famous BHU, Binaras Hindu University is there. Sampurnananda Sanskrit University is there. And over here you can also see the Ganges, holy Ganges, by the side of the holy river. you can see even the cremation of bodies, and a lot of people take a dive in the river. It is said that the riverbed has some limestone or something, so naturally all the dirt is naturally um, cleansed. So the water is amazing over there too. What else? Ganges, you can see the whole river. Vaisali, another place where Buddha visited, and Pataliputta or Patna is another important place. And Kusinara is the place where he passed away. You can see like he was born in Lumbini and passed away in Kusinara, not too far from each other. And Savatthi also was there for a long time. He lived. And first sermon was there in Varanasi, Saranath, because he had to meet the five disciples. And then he also was practicing in Bodh Gaya. He went to the best of the best spiritual masters, and eventually he chose the middle path and practiced in Bodh Gaya. So this is about that place. And then we move to another slide over here. You can see the Theravada Buddhism in Asia. Sri Lanka became a Theravada headquarters for many centuries when Buddhism disappeared from India. And you can see Myanmar and Thailand, Laos, Cambodia. These are basically predominantly Theravada Buddhist countries. Although we also have Theravada Buddhists in Bangladesh, in maybe in India, yes, and also some part of other countries, even in Vietnam. We do have, and other countries also currently we have Theravada Buddhists, and even in Europe and America, we do have some Theravada Buddhists. And then we have, you can see like southern part of the world. So it's called Southern Buddhism. Sometimes they call Southern School of Buddhism, and also sometimes they call Hinayana Buddhism, lesser vehicle. And this is Mahayana. In Asia, I can see Tibet, Bhutan, China, part of Mongolia, and South Korea, Taiwan, even in Japan, Vietnam. These countries were basically um, um, occupied with predominantly Mahayana Buddhism. Very interesting, actually. It is said like Theravada and Mahayana are like the two wings of the same bird, and you need to have two wings for a bird to fly. So these two wings help the bird to fly. So both these wonderful schools of Buddhist thought, they work separately. They work. I think today we have more opportunities to work together, thanks to the transport and communication mode. So not like in the past, today we actually meet a lot of Theravada Mahayana monks. And sometimes in Tibet, they call separately it's as Vajrayana tradition, but that's also actually part of Mahayana. Okay, so the map can be very different today. Even in mainland China, we have Theravada Buddhists, and the other countries also, like Europe, America, Australia, they all have Theravada and Mahayana Buddhists. So the map actually has changed a lot. Hopefully now, you never know, maybe Buddhism will be more established in the Western countries. Um, the Buddhism is actually very, what do you say, migrating religion. Yeah, it was traveling everywhere. And interesting chapter we have here in the book, Buddhism and Elephant. You must have heard, right? So I want to actually brainstorm you. What do you see here? Say something. What do you see here?
Real predator and imagined predator.
Is that
Okay, what else?
is that plastic bag?
Yeah, that's garbage.
Yeah.
Garbage
So,
is consuming
looks-
nature.
yeah. It looks like another monster, right? The bigger monster. But actually, at the very beginning, you feel like it's another bigger fish that's going to swallow the other fish, and the bigger fish is going to swallow the smaller fish, and very deceptive, right? What is this? What do you
It's
see
not an
here?
iceberg. It's not an iceberg.
Split image of iceberg and plastic bag.
Yeah, it's so again, lot of people, if you have not seen the other one, previous image, many people would say, oh, this is an iceberg. Now you already had some previous knowledge, right? So many of the people, oh, you look at things with already past memory, so you recognize it faster. But if I projected this one, hopefully you would say this is the iceberg, very much like an iceberg, right? So over here, it shows about mm, like over here too, you see, they, they look very much like icebergs, but you can, these actually talks volumes and how we people actually, even the lot of aquatic these creatures, they consume lot of plastics. They do have nanoplastic in their bodies, and humans consume fish, and then humans also have a lot of nanoplastic in their body. I recently heard, actually read an article, pregnant mothers, they do have nanoplastic even in their milk. That's so terrifying. We will talk about these things actually later when it comes to the um, Buddhist Buddhism and environment. And why did I actually show these pictures to you? Because many people actually judge the book by the cover, right? And they can easily be misled by things that they see. That is the problem. And but like this, you know this story? What is this?
Blind men and the elephant.
Yeah.
Every person is
So
describing the elephant depending of the part of the elephant that they are touching.
yeah. So they are all blind people. Okay, they can't see. And they have never seen an elephant before. And now they are asked to touch an elephant, only part of an elephant. And then this is what happens. What would they say? as elephant. Who is an elephant to you? And what would they say? So this is actually also part of the Buddhist sutta called Tittha Sutta in Udana 6.4, Buddhist parable of the blind man and the elephant. But the same parable has been used by quite a few other religions. So the parable of the blind man and the elephant, found in Buddhist, Hindu, and Jain traditions, illustrates the limitations of individual perspectives. In the story, several blind men encounter an elephant, but each touches only one part of its body, leading them to form vastly different and conflicting descriptions of the animal. This parable highlights how our understanding of reality is shaped by our limited individual experiences and encourages us to consider multiple viewpoints to gain a more complete picture. So many of us actually touch only a little bit personal experiences we have. So on the basis of that, we form the elephant. We talk about the complete picture of the elephant, but we have only touched part of it. Many of us actually do that. So very interesting. And then during the Buddha's time, he talks about this in the Tittha Sutta. You can go ahead and take a look later on. So in Buddhism also we do have, this is very much like an Indian society. You can see different people in India. So through the costumes we can recognize. And so people had so many different perspectives about world and life and karma and nirvana, so they all interpreted in their own ways. In Chulahatipadopama Sutta, there is actually a beautiful, and also there is another sutta called Mahahatipadopama Sutta. So the Buddha explains about how important it is to see the whole picture, not just the little bits and pieces of it. At the beginning, someone actually sees elephant footprint, and then some people already think that I have seen the elephant. I have seen the elephant, but he has only seen the footprint. And then he goes, someone else, wise person, he would also say, oh, this is a smaller elephant, this is a bigger elephant. And through that, you could probably predict the size of the elephant, and also the weight of the elephant, the age of the elephant. You could say there are basically two different varieties of elephants, African elephants and the Asian elephants. And so in the forest, when you see the footprints, and later when you go deeper, you can see some of the scratches, or maybe some branches have been broken by the elephant. You could probably predict the size of the elephant. Okay, he can reach up to this point. So this elephant is maybe like middle size, middle age. You can probably say, but you continue to go further. And so on the way, you can see many signs of elephant's presence, and you decide, you determine certain things. Finally, you see the elephant, in an open area eating grass, and then you can really see the real picture. You really see the real picture of the elephant. And so he or she is the only one who could actually say everything about the elephant. So unless and until you see or by yourself, the Buddha said, don't judge in advance. That's very nice. Lot of actually parables, similes, metaphors are there in Buddhist literature regarding regarding life. For example, naga is another word that is used for elephant. So naga also is used for arhanta or the enlightened monks and nuns. And hathi, gaja, there are some other there are quite a few Pali words actually for elephant. Yes. Okay, so okay, you have a question, Jojo?
I do. I'm familiar with the term naga as being for serpent. So is that a
Yes.
different?
Yeah. Naga is basically mostly it is the serpent snake. Sometimes it is also used as an imaginary dragon like snake. And in another term, actually, Naga also is the one who has cut off the defilements. So Naga also is used in a few suttas to refer to Arahanta person, the enlightened person. Okay, so now when it comes to the chapter 2, it's about the Buddha. We will actually discuss this later, karma and rebirth, and then Four Noble Truths, and the Mahayana. This book also has some explanation about Mahayana. Three kaya, three bodies, for example, Dharma kaya, Sambhoga kaya, and Nirvana kaya. So Buddha's three bodies are explained here in this book. And also this is Saddharma Pundarika Sutra, the Lotus Sutra. You can see actually Evang Maya Sritam Ekasming Samaye Bhagavan Rajagrihe Viharatisma Gridrakute Parvate Mahata Bhikshu Sanghena Sardham Dwadasabir Bhikshu Satair Sarvai Arhadbih Srinasrai. So this is in Sanskrit, but very much similar to Pali. And you can also here see the Rajagir or Rajagaha that we just talked about. So when the Buddha was living with Dwadasha Bhikshu Satai, that means 1250 bhikkhus were there. All of them, Sarvai Arhati, all of them were Arhat monks. And when the Buddha was living there, Gridrakuta is, or Gijjakuta in Pali, that is the Vulture's Peak. So this is just part of the sutta, what we call Saddharma Sutra, Lotus Sutra. Just a little bit. Actually had a translation. And then Mahayana virtues, we have over here 6 paramitas: generosity, morality, patience, courage, meditation, and wisdom. I'm not going to discuss these things much. And in Theravada, we have 10 perfections, paramitas. And these are the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. This is a beautiful embodiment of compassion. So you can also hear compassion and wisdom. They are integral part of Buddhist teaching. So compassion, you can see here like multiple hands. Sometimes some of them have like 1,000 hands, maybe 10 hands. More hands means more help. to more people, and also so much compassion. Kuan Yin statues are very famous among the Mahayana Buddhists, and they really love to go to Kuan Yin and ask for some help sometimes, because it is the embodiment of compassion. Buddhism in Asia, we just discuss a little bit how Buddhism in Asia, like some part of Asia was occupied by Mahayana Buddhism and some part was by Theravada. I think Jojo was talking about this Buddha statue, right? This is the Kamakura Buddha statue, the world's largest bronze statue. I actually went there too in Japan a few years ago. That's a massive sculpture, beautiful meditative Buddha statue. You can see the Mahayana art over here. So many arts and craft. You can see like sculptures, paintings, and so much into the literature, like aesthetic part. You can see in Buddhism. Buddhist literature is so full of poetry, similes and metaphors, and then also like paintings and beautiful stories, and it's such a full package, I guess. It's everything is there when it comes to Buddhist literature. So they are amazing paintings and also sculptures in mainland China, like Donghuan caves, for example, so full of beautiful paintings. And then in India, like Ajanta Ellora, and in Sri Lanka, we also have quite a number of caves, like Dambulla rock caves, and also like the statues of the Buddha. Amazing. You can see Buddha statues in different countries. Every country, reflect their own personalized, customized Buddha. So, like in Thailand, you have a different Buddha statue, so they are very familiar and they really love it. And like here, like when this Buddha statue is seen, maybe like those Mahayana Buddhist people are very much into it. They really love it. And then and some other countries, like in Sri Lanka or India, they have again different Buddha statues. And I think I mentioned that recently a monk from Africa, he received his PhD. I saw him, he was like welcomed by the African community over there. And I'm sure sooner the Buddha will appear like, dark skinned Buddha over there. So they would feel more comfortable with it. So I think Buddhism has found carved a niche of its own in many countries, just like that. And that's why the Buddhism was very comfortable in merging with the local culture. Mark, you have a question?
Yes, Bante, is there any sutra about Buddha's opinion about sculpture or statue? Like, would he like to have Buddha statue?
Who?
The Buddha himself. Is there any
Can you
teaching? Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Okay.
So, my question is
Yeah.
there any sutra or teaching from the Buddha about sculpture and statue in general? Like, would he like to be sculpture?
Well, these things were not there at the beginning of the Buddha Sasana, they were not really part of it. It's part of the later tradition. At the beginning, actually, after the Buddha passing away, there was just an empty seat So that seat was the one dedicated to the Buddha, empty seat. So people would go there, they would feel very respectful to that. Why? Because on the one hand, like they were very scared, or they were like reluctant to have a Buddha, image or something. And it took so many centuries actually, finally, to have a Buddha image, basically influenced by the Greek art. So Buddha, like Gandhara and Mathura, you can see different Buddha arts. And many of the Buddha statues, even today, you can see, like, I could see like it's very difficult to even recognize the gender of the Buddha. Like I see the lipsticks and Q-tics, and it looks like, the combination of wisdom and compassion. So I think compassion is more to do with the mother, and wisdom is, bear with me, like this is just an assumption, like, so prajna or the panya and the karuna, they are together. So masculinity and femininity are both in Buddha statues. You can see like they are not like just humans, but that's how they try to symbolically represent Buddha's qualities. You can see them. Like even in, I think, Christianity, Jesus was born in Bethlehem. Then when Christianity came to West, and it looks like a Western person, right? So that's how the Western society feels more comfortable. Okay, so these are some of the Jojo.
Bunty, before the Buddha statues, he would have used a stupa or a kasina. So is that kind of like the same thing where you're focusing on one item, even though it doesn't have a figure on itself?
Oh, yes. So at the beginning, as I mentioned, there was an empty seat, and later they had a pair of slippers. And so then there was, like different symbols were there. And finally, the face painting of a Buddha came. And then they tried to embody the Buddha's qualities, like 32 characters of the Buddha. That's why the Buddha statue became bigger and bigger, because they wanted to showcase the Buddha's quality. For example, the giant Buddha statue in Sichuan province in China, you can see a massive Buddha statue. And in many countries like Bamiyan, recently, Bamiyan Buddha statue was destroyed by the Taliban. And that was also a massive Buddha statue. And so they kind of tried to, the artists, they tried to embody the Buddha's qualities in so many ways. 32 character, the compassion, and in the robe, and, everything was different. Like in Sri Lanka, I remember there was an age where Tamil influence was more, and that time we can see the Buddha statues have a different robe style, and then the other periods where the dominant singular Buddhists were ruling the country most of the time. So you can see a different Buddha statue. So that influence of many cultures into the Buddha statue. Buddha statue is an amazing. That itself is a legend, a story of its own. Huge, deep history is there about the Buddha statue. Did I answer the question, Jojo?
No. But that's okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of a different course.
Right. Over here you can see, I'll come back to that, okay? Please let me know, I'll explain that later. So level of trance, so these are the different jhanas, like absorptions or trance. First jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, and in Abhidhamma it is also called like fifth jhana. And over here you can see many jhanas, actually, like they are also called attainments, the last few. And so through these psychic powers and many different stages of spiritual attainment, you can see formless jhana, or sphere of formlessness, and then sphere of pure form. So these are very, again, lofty spiritual achievements, where someone can finally go to the nirvana or the enlightenment by switching from these jhanic powers to the vipassana insight meditation. One can achieve the the nibbana. As I mentioned before, the Visuddhi Magga, the path of purification, gives a wide variety of meditation techniques, like 40 meditation techniques, and everything is very well explained there. You can also take a look. That's a little bit voluminous one. I have shared the book earlier. So this again is part of the Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist achievements, and ethics will be the very foundation of that. Last time we also learned about different precepts, or you can say 5 precepts, 8 precepts, 10 precepts, and 10 good paths of action, Dasa Kusala Kammapatha, and monastic discipline, Patimokkha. It's a whole lot of disciplines are there. Buddhism actually, I think, compared to many other religions, Buddhism has more numbers, more lists than any other. Like fives, sevens, nines, so many lists are there in Buddhism. So monastic discipline, code of conduct for monastics, like over 227 for Buddhist monks in Theravada Buddhism. I'm not sure the number of code of conduct for Mahayana Buddhist monks. Probably they also have a lot to deal with. So these precepts are very integral part of the Buddhist practice. And the Buddhism in the West, and some people say like Buddhism in the West will be like, we have now Theravada and Mahayana. So it is said like a Navayana. So in this book, I think there is a discussion about the new vehicle, Navayana. I don't know if you are familiar with that, or if that is the overall picture of the Buddhism in the West. Somehow, Western science, psychology, social science, they also have affected. So over the course of time, definitely ever-changing field of Western thought can be very much with understanding of the Buddhist teachings. So a lot of people in the West, they are not interested in ethics or sila, but they are very much interested in meditation or samadhi. Hopefully, it will take some time. They feel more comfortable with meditation, so it's okay to begin with that, whatever comfortable zone you are in, you can take a deep dive, and then you can explore more, investigate more. That's how it goes. So Buddhism in the West also actually have a very strong foundation now. Like even the Bhikkhuni order is very strong here in the West. A lot of new bhikkhunis are coming up, and even the bhikkhus like Bhikkhu Bodhi, Bhikkhu Analayo, Bhikkhu Tanisaro, and many other wonderful, wonderful monks and nuns are there today doing so well over here in US and Australia and Europe. We do have quite a few Theravada monks, and definitely there are so many more Mahayana Buddhist Sangha too. I think it is the Tibetan Buddhism that had a more stronghold in the West, and that's how they actually started after the Dalai Lama ran away from Tibet, and then they went everywhere. They came to India first, and they were actually given refuge in many Western countries. So they had a long history, quite a, I mean, comparatively longer history than the other Theravada Buddhism. So, like whenever you see like Buddhism or meditation or whatever, you can see the books and other outcome or other contributions from the Tibetan Buddhism is very strong in the West. They already have established here. Dalai Lama is very much powerful monk here in the West, right? Before taking a break, do you have any question or?
Is there a cultural significance to the vulture? Because I think I've heard in some sutta that it is called a noble bird. And here in the West, the vulture is like the lowest of the birds. So I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, I think those, those animals like the elephant, particularly elephant, is very famous in Asia, and so it's very well respected. And the cobra, the snake, also is very much respected in that part of the world. So depending on that, um, you know, like the eagle, the hawk, they they also have like good eyesight or very sharp, some of the qualities. Like for example, swans, it is said they can separate the milk from the water. So they have some capacity. So it is they are symbolically represented in teaching Buddhism in many suttas. Like in Dhammapada, you can see lotus, lotus flower. Also is very famous. You can see like Lotus Sutra and Padma Sambhava. And then also in Buddhism, like everywhere you can see about the lotus, how the lotus, the bud starts from the mud, and some of the lotuses will die in the mud itself before coming up, and some of them will die, trying to struggling through the water course in the middle of the water. They will die, and then some of them will come just below the water, and they will die, and some of them will come right above the water, and then full blossom and make the whole world happy. and smile and radiate that beautiful flower, and eventually that's like it is said like the arahant, you know. So vulture, as I mentioned, vulture speak the Gijja Kota Pabata is very famous in Buddhism, where a lot of practitioners, lot of monks actually, when they were many people did not go there. Actually, it's a difficult mountain peak. So even today, some people go there. So that's why the Gijjakuta Parbata or Vachas Peak was famous, where very serious practitioners were practicing in isolation. Isolated practice also is important for meditation in Buddhism. And apart from that, I'm not sure if we have so many references regarding vulture. Yeah. So the vulture speak, it looks like a vulture's head. That's why it's called vulture. Okay. Maybe we take a 15-minute break and then come back and discuss about the Buddhism and politics more.
Thank you, Bunty.
Thank you, Bante.
Thank you. Hello everyone, welcome back. Do you know everyone is a political animal? Who said that? Aristotle, Greek philosopher, he said man is by nature a political animal. This statement isn't meant to suggest that all humans are deeply engaged in formal politics or political activism, but rather highlights our fundamental nature as social beings who thrive within communities and naturally seek to associate with the others. So in our day-to-day life also, somehow, somewhere we also have certain politics. So political psychology and everything is also there in our day-to-day life. But many people, like if we say, like, do you like politics? What do they say? Do you like politics? Yes or no? And people say no, right? Yeah. But yeah, politics, but politics also sometimes we need it. Like maybe like communities, community building, social welfare. So assemblies, working together, teamwork, all these are actually also part of politics. If we live all by ourselves, then probably politics is not so important. But as we have to live with the society, so we don't inherently actually work as maybe like engaging political party members, but we also have certain ideologies, like we have beliefs, we have viewpoints, perspectives. So that's also part of politics. So um, during the Buddha's time, actually, this also is important because during the Buddha's time, he also had to deal with some kings. Can you see the screen? Can you hear me?
Yes, Bunty.
Okay, thank you. So over here we can see like in India, the geography of India. So India is situated in southern Asia and often referred to as a subcontinent. Subcontinent means it's not completely covered by the ocean. So 3 parts of the country are covered with open to ocean. So it's a subcontinent. It is bisected by major rivers like the Indus and the Ganges. It's bordered on the east by the Bay of Bengal, on the west by the Arabian Sea. We also talked about that yesterday, about the Bay of Bengal, and to the south by the Indian Ocean. Towering ranges such as the Himalayas, Great Himalayas, the Hindu Kush, and both the western and the eastern Ghats frame its terrain. The country experiences consistently warm to hot temperatures with just 2 main seasons, the monsoon rains and dry period. In the northern part of India, they also have the winter season. Like most of the southern states, they do have only dry season and the monsoon season. So the summer and the rains. When it rains, it really like the sky is, cracked open and already torrential rains. It really rains very hard. And similarly, when it's summer, it's really hot and also very humid, so hard. I noticed like in somewhere like in Delhi, it's so hot, but not so humid. Humidity is there like mostly in the coastal areas. So ancient India was a hub of innovation, excelling in everything from art and architecture to religion, agriculture, astronomy, and public health. You can see many religious beliefs actually came from India. It's amazing. Its use of written Sanskrit emerged between 2000 and 600 BC, and mathematicians introduced the concepts of zero and decimal notation while refining calculations of um, some scripts. And we also had Brahmi scripts those days. So way early kind of letter system, writing system. Then physicians employed herbal remedies and even performed surgeries in India. And the practice of yoga was created to foster well-being of body, mind, and spirit. So they were all part of this wonderful country. That's India is also called by some as mini world. So Sri Lanka is a very small, actually, island compared to India. India is 60 times larger than, and there are like around 1,500 languages and dialects all over India. So many religions, so many varieties, so many costumes, culture, like different food and religions, and so many different cultures are there. Almost every 100, kilometers or miles, you can see somewhat different tradition. Language may be mildly different, and maybe their costumes are different, and food culture is different. From south to west to north to east, you can see it's completely so diverse in India. People maybe you can see so many different ethnic groups also. It's such an amazing country, in fact. I lived there like 10 years, so I have actually traveled a little bit. Over here you can see the social structure. We already discussed about that. The ancient Hindu society was organized by the Vedas into four rigid social groups: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. They are the merchants, and the Shudras, the servants. You can see also here Dalits, like no caste, outcast. So below these stood the Dalit, once called untouchables, who were excluded from the caste system and endured severe discrimination. Because caste system was inherited at birth, so the caste was like given to them by birth. It dictated every aspect of daily life, occupation, status, and even whom one could marry. You can't, a Dalit person, for example, can marry even a Shudra person. Very, very different situation. But overall, that also could be part of the social revolution or the evolution of that social hierarchy took place due to different circumstances, occupations, professionalism. This could be pretty much be the case. Somehow the Buddha was fighting against these things. Economy, by around 3000 BCE, people in the Indus Valley were farming wheat, barley, rice, and cotton, and may have been the first to keep chickens. So India is one of the earliest countries to keep chickens. Rivers and the nearby sea provided easy waterways for trade. So water is such an important part of our life. All the civilizations in the world have started with water, rivers, and we humans always would love to be close to water. And you can see, like, not only humans, the other animals also, they would love to stay close to water, because water is more important sometimes than the food. You can't survive without water so long. Water is so important, and water can help us in so many different activities, for drinking and for cultivation and washing and many things, and also transportation. Waterways were very helpful. So all the waters. And did you notice, like in California, where we have less humidity, and you see less bugs, like not many animals, not many snakes even. But if you go to like countries like those monsoon where the rains are available, like in Sri Lanka, we also have torrential rains, and we have mosquitoes, we have so many bugs, so many little insects, and snakes, like all kinds of snakes. So why? Because it is the moisture that attracts them. It is the water that attracts them. So the more water you have, the more living beings are there with water. That's also why some of the other planets, they don't have so many living beings, possibly because they don't have water enough. That's the main reason. So for economy, rivers and the nearby sea provided easy waterways for trade. So most of this sea trade, maritime trade took place through water. Through these routes, and overland via the Silk Road, they imported luxury goods like silk, silver, tin, wool, and even Chinese grain, while exporting their own cotton, ivory, salt, pearls, beads, gold, and timber. So they had a lot of transactions, businesses, even in the dim distant past. So when it comes to religion, India's spiritual landscape has long been polytheistic. So not like monotheism, not like one, always many. Out of Brahmanism emerged Hinduism, centered on beliefs and reincarnation, karma and nirvana, and worshipping three principal deities alongside the supreme God. The world's oldest major faith and India's largest religion today, Hinduism coexists with traditions such as Islam, Jainism, and Sikhism, and also Buddhism. Born in India on the vision of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. also spread across Asia and continues to thrive. So India has produced so many wonderful religious leaders. So I think the very foundation of India, maybe the very condition of that country is very different, and that's a very fertile ground for many wonderful spiritual masters to appear. So, for example, the Buddha could experience the real suffering in India. Those people, even today, like in Bodh Gaya, if you visit, you can see like those homeless people, those beggars, and very so miserable the way they live. And probably people like Buddha could come out of those, just like the lotus, coming out of the mud. That was probably a fertile ground. And then in India, we also have okay, politics. So we have interactions between Buddhist monks and rulers, and it was there like Buddha himself was a king, the royal family member, and he had a very easy connection with the royal members, like King Kosala, King Pasenadi, like King Ajatasattu, King Bisara, King what do you call Bimbisara. So many royal families, even like Vajins, and also many parts of the places wherever he went, and he met a lot of those royal or ruling families. He found it very. The other people probably found Buddha more comfortable in dealing with, because he already had the exposure. He had that, gestures, mannerisms. He already knew that. So a lot of powerful businessmen and political leaders continuously visited Buddha, met him for advices in many different occasions. So local kings governed with hereditary councils and religious councillors. The Mauryan Empire, for example, from 322 to 187 BC, united vast territories from India into Persia. And under King Ashoka, Buddhism was promoted across the realm through stone inscribed edicts. Centuries later, the Gupta Empire, that is 320 to 550, oversaw a flourishing period of wealth, learning, and artistic achievement, often called India's golden age. Gupta period is called a golden age of India. So Buddhism and other religions were also very much part of politics too. We do have a lot of nations. And then Buddhist teachings relevant to politics, I think this is very important. Maybe we need to learn more about these things. Dasa Raja Dharma, 10 duties of a king. How to become a better king, how to become a better governor, ruler. Satta Aparihaniya Dharma, like 7 conditions of welfare. Concepts of moral leadership and righteous governance. You can learn many things through Buddhist teachings. So although Buddha was basically fundamentally focusing on liberation, but through his teachings we also have certain teachings for the wellness, for the well-being, happiness of the mundane lifestyle. Because many of those kings and businessmen and the other household people, when they visited the Buddha, Buddha also did not want to go into deep Dhamma talks with them. And what he did was, like they actually asked, like, we don't have time so much. We are so busy with running business, running countries, politics. So we really would like to have certain teachings that can make us, better. We can, if you can teach us, that will be so wonderful. So Buddha actually gave them some teachings like that. So Dasaraja Dham, you can see 10 duties of the king. 10 duties of a king is guidelines rooted in Buddhist teachings that outline the righteous and moral leadership. These duties, articulated in ancient texts, serve as a serve as a blueprint for kings and rulers to govern justly and compassionately. So, how to become a better ruler, compassionate ruler, a person who can really help the society as a leader. So some of those teachings are mentioned here in Buddhism. You can see here the Dasaraja Dharma, दान शील परित्याग अज्जव मद्धव तप अक्रोध अविहिंसा खंति aviruddha. There is one actually stanza. So we learned it when we were young, so we remember that. Danam silang parichagang madhavang madhavang tapang akkodho avihingsa cha kanti cha avirodhata. So we remember this Pali term. So dana means generosity. Sila means morality. Parichaga, self-sacrifice. Like letting go, or how to be let go things, renounce. Ajjava, honesty and integrity. These are beautiful qualities of a better ruler, a king, or even political leaders, social and maybe like community leaders, religious leaders. If they have these things, gentleness and kindness, austerity, tapa, like you also have to practice. And non-anger, like leaders are naturally inherent with lot of ego, so they can easily get angry. So practicing this loving kindness for a leader is so important, because if he gets angry, if he or she gets angry, they could do so many bad things. We see in the world today also, like some of the like world leaders, when they get angry, things can happen very bad for the others. I think that is one reason why when we practice metta or loving kindness, we also have to send loving kindness to those rulers, politicians, political leaders, religious leaders, social leaders, community leaders, where they feel, non-aggressive, and they become compassionate and kind-hearted, honest, and that way, morally rich and also generous. That way the countries, the world can become a better place. So we need to send loving kindness to those people, particularly to those powerful leaders. They need it more from us, because we need peace, and they need also peace in their mind. And if they are peaceful in their mind, they would not get angry. If they get angry, things can go worse. So ahimsa, non-violence, khanti, patience. Yeah, this is one thing that we find very less today. Aviruddha, non-opposition to righteousness, and particularly like how to listen to others, like how to respect others, and these things are very important practices, not only for a political person but also for the other people. This Dasa Raja Dhamma mentioned in some of the suttas. 10 duties of a king. Then these duties emphasize the importance of a ruler being virtuous, selfless, and dedicated to the welfare of their subject. By adhering to these principles, a ruler can create a just and prosperous society, fostering trust and respect among the people. So Dasaraja Dharma underscores the belief that true leadership is not merely about power and control, but about serving the greater good with compassion and wisdom. See again, compassion and wisdom, karuna and panya. These are an integral part of Buddhist teaching. So we can see in Buddha's teachings more often than not, he emphasizes the importance of compassion and wisdom. So Dasaraja Dhamma reflect so much about these wonderful qualities. I think they are so amazing, right? Even today, do you think that these things cannot be applied today to world politics? How if
Should
these
be, hopefully.
politicians, yeah,
I hope.
these
I
are
hope.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like look at these beautiful qualities, wholesome qualities for leaders. If they can be like this world will become a very beautiful place. Now, I think if they are lacking these things, and we will not have a world for our, younger generation. We will be cursed by the younger generation because we have destroyed their world. So it's important, political leaders, social leaders, religious leaders, they are all very important. Community leaders, they have to practice these things. Yeah. Dasaraja Dhamma. So you can see these suttas, Chakravarti Sihanada Sutta and Kotadanta Sutta. And yeah, these suttas talk about these qualities. Dasaraja Dhamma, king's governance, economic conditions of the country, how you should, develop the countries like welfare and eradicate crimes and rural development, entrepreneurs. Yeah, these like human dignity. These are really, really, very, very wonderful. Now, so Jataka, we also have quite a number of Jataka, 548 Jataka stories, and Dasaraja Dharma, another Jataka story. We have these qualities I explained there. And Milinda Panya, again, very important book. I recommend you actually, if you have time, take a look at this wonderful book, because this book will provide so many answers to so many questions that you have about maybe like Buddhism, maybe karma, So here it is said, if a man who is unfit, incompetent, immoral, improper, unable, and unworthy of kingship, has enthroned himself a king or a ruler with great authority. He is subject to be tortured, to be subject to a variety of punishment by people, because being unfit and unworthy, he has placed himself unrighteously in the seat of sovereignty. That's amazing. Like, even though like you have so much power, but people's power can also be very, very powerful. Like it is said, pen is mightier than the sword, right? So people power can also be like a tsunami sometimes. In many countries, when people come together, it will be very hard to control. So the kings have to be very wise. They should not be like having any ulterior motives, but if they are very honest and sincere and do good for the society, people, community, and then people will actually love it. And eventually the countries will prosper and everyone will be happy. So these are 7 qualities, conditions of welfare. Very good, actually. We also should try these things. Like if you have a small community, a club, or like maybe monastic community, these things really are very helpful. Parinibbana Sutta at the beginning. These things are mentioned. Like meet frequently and hold many meetings and meet together in unity, rise in unity, and perform duties in unity. So you work together, you meet together, and you work together, and you also disperse together without any division. Unity is very important. United we stand, divided we fall. So, very good. United States of America. So, enact nothing that has been enacted, abrogate nothing that has already been enacted, and act according to established Vajjian principles. So, these Vajjians, yesterday I think somebody was talking about Vajji. So, Vajjian principles were introduced by the Buddha to them. So, the Buddha asked them to, follow these conditions, 7 conditions of welfare. And Buddha said, if you do this, no one can conquer you. You will be together. The whole country will be with you. So nobody can actually conquer you. So one time, Ajatasattu also wanted to, uh, conquer Vajjiyans. And then one of the Brahmins, ministers, was sent to the Buddha. If that is, to get some information, they get some maybe advice. So they also went to the Buddha to get some advice, even with warfare. So Buddha asked Venerable Ananda, how about these Vajjins? Are they still practicing Satta Parihaniya Dhamma, 7 conditions of welfare? Venerable Ananda, he was like very smart also, such a good public, he was really good in communicating with the society and the Buddha. He knew everything. He had a lot of information. So he said, yes, Venerable Master, the Blessed One, these Vajjiyans are really practicing these principles very sincerely. Then the Buddha said, if that is the case, no matter how powerful Ajatasattu is, he won't be able to conquer this small country. So, and the 5th Silasi, ensure that no women or girls of their families are detained by force or abduction. Again, the respect for women and young girls were very much in power there for a society to flourish. If you can see the women are secured and they feel safe, that country is a beautiful country. Even today, if women feel comfortable, women feel like more safer, that country is a wonderful country. So this again is another parihaniya dhamma, conditions of welfare. And support, respect, venerate, and honor objects of worship, both internal and external. Maintain righteous ceremony. So sometimes you also have to respect different, maybe like diversities. If you are in a country where all different religions, cultures, communities and languages, are there, then you have to support them, respect them, and that way the entire society will become powerful bond, merge together very well. And then number 7, provide rightful protection, defense, and support for the arahants, allowing those who have not come to enter the realm and those who have entered to live in peace, ensuring the Vajjayans do not decline but prosper. So they would also respect and support those enlightened monks. That's also very important. Sometimes you can see those wonderful spiritual masters. You need probably you need go for counseling. You need to go talk to them, meet them regularly, because people like lay people are busy with other things, so they probably need more counseling from those peace-loving people, because they live in peace. They don't have any stress. So it's important to respect them and consult them sometimes. So these are the 7 aparihaniya dhammas. Okay. So these are the 32 stories that I mentioned yesterday. I thought it's also important to remember. Yeah. So Rajakatha. Maybe can somebody please read it? Any volunteer?
I
Okay.
can read it, Bunty.
You?
I can read it.
Yeah.
32 kinds of unskillful speeches. Rajakatha, talk about kings. Chorakatha, talk about robbers. Machacha Katha, talk about ministers. Senakatha, talk about armies. Bayakatha, talk about fears. Yudakatha, talk about wars. Annakatha, talk about edibles. Pannakatha, talk about drinks. Patakatha, talk about clothes. Malakatha, talk about flowers. Gandakatha, talk about scents. Nati, is that supposed to be the Nyati?
Jnati.
Nati Kata, talk about relations. Yanakatha, talk about vehicles and conveyances. Gamakatha, talk about villages. Nigamakatha, talk about hamlets. Nagara Lankara Katha, talk about towns. Janapada Katha, talk about states. Itikatha, talk about women. Surakatha, talk about deities. Sura Katha, talk about intoxicants. Visika Katha, gossip at street corner. And Kubathana Katha, gossip at the well.
Okay, that is 22. This.
Some more, Bunty?
Okay, continue. Yes, can you see?
Yes. Make sure my thing is on there. Pubapetta Katha, talk of those dead and gone. Nanata Katha, various useless talk apart from these. Lokika Katha, talk about the beginning of the world. Samudika Katha, talk about the ocean. Sasvata Diti Katha, talk about eternal soul after death. Ucheda Diti Katha, talk about annihilation of soul after death. Vudikata, talk about others' prosperity. Hanikata, talking about others' debacle or less fortune. Panchakama Sukha Katha, talking about various sensuous pleasures. Atakila Matha Nuyogi Katha, talking about self-mortification as a form of liberation.
Okay. So, do you remember some at least?
Was I close on the pronunciation?
Yeah, that's yeah, I mean you tried. I'm sorry I could not actually include the diacritical marks. This is Raja Katha, Chora Katha. This I should have actually written properly. Maha Macha Katha. Amacha is minister, so Maha Amacha means big ministers. Sena Katha, like armies, people like to talk about these things. Bhaya is fears. Yuddha, wars. Anna means food, so eatables. Pana is drinking. Drinks. Vatha, the clothes. Mala, like in the seventh sila, we talk about Mala Gandha Vilepana, like you have to get rid of those beautifications. Gandha Katha, like scents, different kinds of perfumes. Jnati, about relations. Jnana Katha, like all kinds of, maybe today we have more modern vehicles, right? Gama Katha, like villages. Nigama Katha. Gama means small one. Nigama means like a little bigger one. So Nigama, hamlets. Nagara Alankara. Nagara means city and Alankara is like beautification. So these are not recommended, when you visit the temple and talk about these things, and you are actually diverting yourself from the path to liberation. Janapada Katha, talk about the states. Ithi Katha, talk about women. Sura is deities, and sometimes it is also called Deva. Sura means intoxicants, so alcohol. They are, some of those very hot topics among some people. Visika means sweets. They also have a lot of things to talk about this. So Kumbhathana, very interesting thing here, like in the ancient India and even in countries, like you have a well, water, and you have to really pull it from the ground, and it takes a while, and so then this is also a place like where you get a lot of gossip around when people gather, and they talk, they laugh, and they spread a lot of gossip for what happened, and this and that. They talk about other people. And Kumbhathana Katha, you people, it is said, is another very dangerous place. So Pubba Peta. Pubba means earlier. So Peta is the dead and gone. So again, these are not leading you to the Nibbana. Nanatha Katha means all kinds of things. Various useless talks. And Lokika, like the beginning or whatever about the world. The Buddha was not so interested in them, and then he actually encouraged the monks to focus on their practice. Samudra means the ocean. And yeah, there are many beautiful stories about the ocean. So we should also be careful not to be part of that. Sasava, so Saswata Ditti is the eternal soul afterward, after death. So there will be an eternal soul that goes from all around, all throughout. So that was another powerful ditti actually. So ditti, like a michya ditti or the wrong view, this can be a very difficult thing to get out of. Not like other things. Ditti is so difficult to get rid of. When we have certain, beliefs or certain graspings, like viewpoints, very difficult. So the Buddha said, like, you have to remove the lenses, different colorful lenses that we are wearing. We have to be flexible, we have to be open, we have to be ready to learn. That way, your spiritual path will be more comfortable. Uchedaditi, another very strong, extreme annihilation of soul after death. That viewpoint was. These are the two viewpoints that were extremes those days. I think even today we have these things. So the Buddha talks about this, and he said, like, not going to either extreme, you have to be in the middle. So the Buddha teaches the Dhamma in the middle, middle path. Buddhi Katha, talking about others' prosperity. Hani Katha, talking about others' debacles or less fortune. Panchakama Sukha Katha. Pancha means five, Kama is sensual, Sukha is happy, Katha is story. So all the stories about sensual pleasures or sensuous pleasures. Then Attha Kilamatan Yogi Katha. Like this again, like these are the two extremes again, like in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the first sermon, the Buddha mentioned about these things. These are the two extremes. Like one is going all the way to the extreme sensual pleasures. The other is all the way to the extreme self-mortification. They are all not helping you to gain liberation. So the Buddha said you have to be in the middle path. All right. Okay, so this list is of 32 kinds of unskilled speech. Actually does not occur in the Sutta Pitaka itself, but comes from later Abhidhamma and commentary tradition. You will find it in Atthasalini, Buddhaghosa's commentary on the Dhamma Sangini, where these 32 stories, speeches are enumerated under the section of unskillful states of our consciousness. And the Vibhanga, also another Abhidhamma book, where we have a chapter called Avijja Paccaya, ignorance as condition. Here we find the various forms of wrong views and talk. So I noticed, like in Mahanidesa, one of the books in Khuddaka Nikaya, I was actually doing my PhD on that. I also saw those 32 speeches there in Mahanidesa. So if you are looking for the canonical, antecedents, this closest parallel in the suttas is the teaching of unwholesome speech. In the Noble Eightfold Path, you see Samma Vacha. So Samma Vacha means right speech. So we already learned right speech like Musawada, Pisunavacha, Harusavacha, and Sampaparapa. So not to tell lies, and then not to speak harsh words, and not to use slandering, like to divide, like divisive speech, and then also like these kind of unnecessary, unwanted, maybe like mm, making you headache sometimes when people talk about these things. So those Samma Vacha is also part of Sila. Samma Vacha. And in the Noble Eightfold Path, we have already this lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, and idle chatter. And in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya, we have that. And then the Magandhya Sutta also, we have this. This is Anguttara Nikaya 3.70. But the specific list of 32 varieties comes from mostly the post-canonical Abhidhamma tradition. Yeah, also we can see, as I mentioned, like Buddhaka Nikaya. Alongside this appearance in the later Abhidhamma and Buddhaghosa Satta Salini, you'll find the full list of 32 Katha in Mahanidesa. So I think it's also very important, very helpful, like maybe some of these speeches, we also can maybe take a look. Do we have these things? It doesn't necessarily, you can talk about these things like in day-to-day life, it's okay, but when it comes to practice, let's say like you go for a retreat, like 10 days retreat, and then you talk about these things, it won't help you. So we have to get rid of these things. And sometimes you also go to temples, monastery, you go to maybe Maba, or you go to some other monastery close by. So try to avoid these speeches. Also, it is very hard, it's very tempting sometimes when somebody starts, everyone wants to chip in, and you might be part of that too. So how to control that? Keep noble silence, as the Buddha said, practice noble silence. That is the best way. In cases like that, I think noble silence is much more important. So after undertaking 8 or 10 precepts observance, so any Uposatha training, a lay devotee must avoid 32 varieties of worldly chatter, ranging from political and military gossip like kings, ministers, armies, and wars, and also to everyday small talk like food, drink, clothing, flowers, scents, and then to local and social news, villages, towns, street corners, and then wayside gossip. Then the sensational topics like heroes or deities or intoxicants, other fortunes or failures. And then also to metaphysical debates like origins of the world, the ocean, eternal soul, annihilation of its end. So this can be not really helpful, fruitful. And also to self-indulgent or self-mortifying talk, sensual pleasures or self-mortification. So engaging in these conversations was greed, ill will, and delusion, lobha, dosa, moha. That is why the main idea is not to generate lobha, dosa, moha, greed, hatred, and delusion. And many of these thoughts can generate any of these unwholesome emotions, all of which obstruct detachment, ethical purity, and peace of mind, insight, and ultimately Nibbana. Therefore, one refrains from these 32 kinds of speech and instead practice the skillful mode discourse the Buddha described in the Ratha Vinita Sutta. So, very interesting topic here actually. That's why I thought it's good to maybe discuss this thing. These are also again like maybe not like mainstream political discussion, like personal level, how to become a better political animal. Like if you want to be more focused on certain things, maybe many of these stories can be harmful. Okay. All right. um, any questions?
I have a quick question. So with those 32 topics that aren't to be discussed, are those still upheld today? And if so, is there some deviation from that? Like the ocean was mentioned as one of the topics that's not to be discussed. And I mean, I feel like that might be something that could have changed. I don't know.
Well, these stories are related to, when it comes to practice. Otherwise, you have to if you're a scientist, if you are working, maritime, the certain things, your profession, you have to talk about these things. But sometimes when you go to spiritual practice, like as I mentioned, like you go for a 10 days retreat, you have to cut off these things that could really deviate your journey towards the right path. That's why they are unskillful. And sometimes maybe in your day-to-day life also, certain speeches can be, avoided. Maybe not all, but some. You could see that too, right? Does it make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank
Yeah.
you.
What about the other people? What do you think? Okay, so like these Buddhist teachings on politics, what do you think? Can we apply these things today in today's ultra modern, techno savvy world? Do you think it is possible or it is feasible? What do you think? Maybe you have a question first.
Yeah, I really interested about this knowledge related to the holistic and human beings. And when do we confide when can we find these stories to read or listen the teaching about the specific topic? Yeah.
Well, you can actually listen to these topics. For example, if you listen to Dasaraja Dharma, you can see a lot of Dhamma talks on that. And I also have given a Dhamma talk on Mahaparinibbana Sutta, and also I also have talked in many of the Dhamma talks that I have given. There are around 1200 over 1200 videos, so you have to find it.
Oh, so can you write it out about the name of the channel because I cannot type down the name of the you haven't mentioned.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
called USA.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, yeah. And I after learning this session, I feel inspired to learn more about that because I used to work with some social worker and community leader in Vietnam, and they have some health, mental, and physical. And I think this practice some way I can find that I think if they practice is help for them, yeah, to protect their dharma when they work for social or they advocate for something good for the community. Yep.
Yeah, especially if you want to build community. I really like that, Dasaraja Dharma and also the 7 conditions of welfare. They are really amazing, very, very helpful. Many people, when they are together, they discuss, they maybe start peacefully, but they end up fighting violently. So you also have to end up peacefully. That's part of the 7 conditions of welfare. Yeah, Dasaraja Dharma, the 10 duties of a king can also be applied to communities, community leaders, spiritual leaders, political leaders, all kinds of leaders, because leaders always show the path, and if the leader shows the wrong path, then all the other people will, be led to confusion. That's very important.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for inspiring me, Five about it. Thank you.
Hi, Bante. I'm
Okay,
really
my
glad
question
you,
now.
oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just want to say
Yeah,
this
please go
topic,
ahead.
I just want to say you presented a very important topic today in regard to politics and Dharma, because I feel many temples and monks, they don't speak about this. And I feel like it's very important right now in the society because our leaders in many countries are not practicing this. Rather than I feel the monks are talking about dharmas at very high level that people can't really understanding, perhaps by by inspiring the common people about the dharmas and the principles and the moralities is very basic for them to practice. I feel that's very valuable. For example, you brought up the Dalai Lama. I mean, the Dalai Lama is one of the prominent characters in today's world that really practice exactly all those key terms that you mentioned. Beside that, I mean, many monks I don't know why they don't preach about this topic that you brought up today. I find it very profound and very enlightened that I wish that they invite everyone here to come to Maba, because at Maba we practice a lot of environmental safety. Like we try to save the planet, so we try to recycle. With the plastic iceberg and that kind of concept. Master Jiru at Maba is very concerned about our world. So I feel like there should be more temples that teach the disciple to recycles and to instead of the the fruits and the peels we throw it away, we consume it and we make like liquid detergents out of them at Maba. So if anybody ever have time, please come to Maba and you can learn those great things that what is Bante is preaching today. Thank you, Bante.
Yeah, beautiful. We will talk about the environment later on more when it comes to Buddhist perspective on environment. But yes, like for politics, I think it's about like people probably don't like to talk about, yes, but it's important too. Like leaders are important. If the leaders are good, the world will be better. If leaders get angry or leaders are corrupt or leaders are not good, not ethical, then the whole foundation of the society can be in danger. So that's why hopefully we will have better leaders in different levels, like top hierarchy and then also medium and also low community leaders, religious leaders, political leaders, business people, all those people, they are also leaders. And also like, for example, business people, when they do better business, like righteously, where you don't really damage the society, environment, and you are more virtuous when you do that. You are not doing business just for the money, but you're also doing it for the well-being and happiness of the many. That way your business can be really wonderful. Remember, sometimes people like they have a wrong notion of Buddhism also. Or when you follow Buddhism, you have to get rid of all the business and all the, like you can earn money and you can do like other daily activities. No, it's not like Buddhism. Remember, Buddha was like always preaching about the middle path. I really like that idea of middle path. So, Anathapindika was a millionaire. He was like maybe a modern Bill Gates. I don't know. Those days in India, one of the most powerful businessmen, entrepreneurs. And then Vishaka and, all those powerful kings and everyone, they were doing businesses and they were engaging. Why it is helpful for them to follow these teachings, and because they can be better businessmen. Then they don't do wrong things. They earn money in the right way, which I think is really, really important. Like last time I mentioned, like 5 kinds of businesses, right? uh, 5 kinds of things, the businesses that you should avoid, like Satta Vanijja, Sattha Vanijja, Visa Vanijja, Majja Vanijja, Mansa Vanijja, right? Like torturing animals, uh, for killing. So raising animals for killing, and then weapon business, and then alcohol or intoxicants or drugs, and then human trafficking. And yeah, these are some of the businesses that people should avoid, because that actually hinders the peaceful coexistence and the sustenance of this world. um, I remember Dalai Lama, as Julie mentioned, Dalai Lama once said, love is my religion. Um, Dalai Lama also, I remember he mentioned once, um, today, like the world is more united. Uh, they do massive business, like not like before. So when you want to do better business, you should not have enemies. You should be friendly with every country, your neighbors, your other fellow citizens, and also other countries. Like on the basis of religion or whatever, we should not marginalize them. We all need them, because that's how you go. Like something like music, sports, they are so powerful. Sometimes I think they unite people much more powerfully. The religion sometimes like very kind of divisive. They deviate people. We should not divide people. We should actually unite people. I think the Buddha never talked about like deviating. He never talked about dividing people. He always talks about uniting people. And many a times he went to different ashrams and different religious groups, and he talked to them, and they all loved to listen to him because of his universal teachings, because of his um, eternally powerful, all-time practical teachings. So all of them really loved to host Buddha when he was around. These were really important things that we need to learn. Also for today, I think I think many of those religious leaders, they did not want to divide the world, but we do that. I noticed like some of the the sports people, like, regardless of their country or religion or, language or whatever, or everyone loves them. And also the sports legends, maybe soccer stars, or, how everyone loves them. Some of the singers, like, everyone loves them. It's amazing, right? I think one of the wonderful Buddhist leaders, like Thich Nhat Hanh, Dalai Lama, everyone loves them. Uh, that's really, really amazing. I saw Dalai Lama went to many, many different religious groups, and sometimes he would, like, have their own, maybe like have their cap or something. He is amazing, very funny, also very wonderful, very practical. Um, Religious leader, a wonderful global um, spiritual master. And also Thich Nhat Hanh was really an amazing spiritual master. So we do have such people. We do need more religious people like that. I'm sure there are more in other religious um, communities too. So hopefully, if we try to continue to, promote these wonderful qualities, um, our life can be peaceful and the world can be a better place, beautiful place for all of us to live peacefully.
Bante, do you think it's fear that most monks don't speak out? Because like the Dalai Lama, he speaks out, so he has a lot of bodyguards that protects him because he could be assassinated time. So do you think it's fear that a lot of monks and leaders in our worlds that fear to speak out because they're afraid to like get assassinated? Because I feel like there's a lot of great monks out there, but they don't speak about these topics.
Well, I think you don't have to, like, discriminate. When you talk about the good things, you are not discriminating anyone. You're not attacking anyone, right? You're not attacking anyone. You can compassionately show the right way. And I don't think people will be angry with you. I think the Dalai Lama's case, in that case, a little different. Politically, um, but I think the monks, like the Buddha, did not have bodyguards. Although he was from a royal family, he never had a bodyguard. He lived under a tree. He's lived in caves, and he had thousands and thousands of followers. He also had a lot of enemies, but he never was. I think because of his amazing power, you know. Yeah, so I don't see, like, all the monks or whatever, like, you can talk about the politics, but with compassion, um, without discrimination. You talk about the Dharma, and I think it could be applied to everyone. So, like, 5 precepts, who will say no to that, not to kill, not to steal, not to have sexual misconduct, not to tell lies. All these are very, very powerful teachings. So we should promote this more. Even as maybe businessmen, maybe like teachers, some of you are teachers, some of maybe you doctors or engineer, you could all practice these things, and in your own way, you could promote. We all have a common right and obligation, duty, to promote these things. Okay. Anything else? Anyone wants to comment?
Oh,
Did you also? Yes.
I think like did you see like my comment in the chat? What I'm understanding so far from what you have discussed in like Buddhism on politics is that when you're talking about social issues, it shouldn't. I mean, it should be like the main focus lies being solution oriented. Is my interpretation correct or like enlighten me? Yeah.
Yeah, Princess mentioned the question in the chat box. I can read for her. What I am understanding is when talking about issues, it should be solution oriented. Yeah, this is her question.
I actually couldn't hear her properly. Was-
Oh, yeah.
Can no? Can you
I
repeat?
see. Yeah, I see. Princess Mar asked a question about her question here in the chat box. What I am understanding is when talking about issue, it should be solution oriented or not? Yeah, is her question. Can you hear me, Bante?
What issues?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
she
could hear you.
yeah she want to ask in this session when we talk about the issue, it should be solution oriented or not? Yeah.
Okay, I think I'll answer to that later on. I'll go through that later, okay? Yeah, we should, like in Four Noble Truths, the Buddha talks about the issue. Issue is the suffering. And then the root cause is the craving. And then how to get rid of it by attaining Nibbana or enlightenment. And then the path, the Noble Eightfold Path. So the entire Buddha Dhamma, the teaching in Buddhism, is based on this analysis, complete package, I would say. It's like a professional doctor. When you go to a doctor, doctor will diagnose you and he will recognize the root cause of your disease, and then he will recommend the cessation of that disease and how to do the treatment. This is the path. So I think everything about Buddhism is based on these Four Noble Truths. We can apply Four Noble Truths to all different conditions, all different situations, all different problems. So it's not only issue, but also the solution. Anyone else wants to respond to Princess' question?
I think that something
Okay.
to keep in mind, maybe, if we're talking about politics with Buddhism, it's not always necessarily solution oriented, as it is understanding that there is going to be conflict and disagreement within things like politics, and to keep more of an equanimous mindset and stay focused on like the overall situation without getting distracted or losing focus on things that really won't help the situation, or coming to maybe not so much of a agreement, because sometimes politically that is very hard to achieve, but coming to a like respectful understanding of each other's viewpoints more so over.
Thank you, Kyra. That's very wonderful. Well, I think when it comes to a personal issue, like the Buddha also said, many times, like we, we try to, we put the blame on the others, or we actually have others' problems taking into ourselves. And so that, let's say, like a country, you know, a society, or even a family, you always worry about others. You don't focus on yourself. Maybe like the anger or the sadness or fear, when these emotions appear in you, you always try to look into the society, look outside. But the Buddha said, you have to look into yourself. You have to look into yourself, where the fear comes. What happens when you have fear? What happens when you have anger? What happens when you have sadness? You have to look into yourself. And then you see, like maybe some parts of your body is more active when you are angry or when you are sad. Some weaker part of your body is affected. If you have sugar, blood sugar, it'll go up right away. If you have like cholesterol, it will go up right away. If you have backache, your backache will improve. It will be aggravated. So it's like, enemy attacking the weak point all the time. So that's how it happens. So you need to look into yourself and just analyze it and see what's happening within you first. Okay, when you are angry, what's happened? Okay, the anger appears to me. What happens? Where does it really appear in your body? Maybe your head is about to be exploded, or your palpitation is much more. Your heart is like pumping. You have to see like what's happening within you compassionately, peacefully. Look into that, analyze it, and without reacting to that, just observe it. Just observing can be a wonderful way to begin with. And that way, you will not aggravate it further. Many a times, what happens when we are angry or when we are sad, when you are upset, you don't look into yourself. Maybe you go to watch a movie or you talk to other people. You really don't talk to yourself. You don't turn to yourself. You don't have that insight meditation. And many times we have these things happening to many, many people. So rather than finding the nibbana outside or the liberation or the happiness, whatever, outside, you need to find it inside. I think the solution also is inside. Problem was created by you, so you have to also solve that, because you can't really accuse others, they have done this. But you yourself, by reacting to those things, you are the one who actually fabricate this problem. You all have done it in the real sense. This is why we are all in this samsara. So we have to somehow go analyze, self-investigate, and that way, hopefully, you can do it better. Every one of us. Okay. All right. So maybe if you always have any question, yeah, we can maybe work together.
Maria raised your hand,
Over
Bante.
here, yes,
Yeah, Maria raised her hand. Maria.
Maria, yes, please.
One I wanted to say what you were just saying about reflecting on yourself. That's something I've had to do for the last couple years, and I do it constantly all day long, and it works. It really does work. I've learned to change things and anger, and all the different feelings. I learned to turn it into gratitude. So now when I cry, I have tears of gratitude instead. And an example being our cat that just died. You know, I'm wondering, why am I crying so much? Why is it why is it affecting me so much? It was my mother's cat, but why am I the one crying? And I know it's because she was such a beautiful thing to my mother, and she gave my mother peace, and she was so loving and was there, you know. And it's just and you learn so you're right, the more that you look into yourself, it really does work. It may take a while, but it really does work. But what I was really originally had my hand up for is I wanted to share something, if that's okay. It's reflecting back to one of the sutras that you had brought up, um, the Digha Nikaya number 5. Bhante Sujato had done a talk a couple of weeks ago, and he was just reading it off, and I was just listening to him, and I'm going, what? The Buddha said that? I don't know. I was trying to put it in the chat, but it's too long. Do you want me to quickly read it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm
Is
just
that-
gonna I'm just gonna cut down to the main part that got me. So this king is speaking to Buddha, and he's a wealthy king. And he said, when he had spoken, the Brahmin high priest said to him, Sir, the king's realm is harried and oppressed. Raiding the villages, towns, cities has been seen, and infesting highways. But if the king were to extract more taxes while his realm was thus harried and oppressed, he would not be doing his duty. Now the king might think, I'll eradicate this plague of savages by execution or imprisonment or confiscation or condemnation or banishment. But that's not the right way to eradicate plague of savages. Those who remain after the killing will return to harass the king's realm. Rather, here is a plan, relying on which the plague of savages will be properly uprooted. So let the king provide seed and fodder for those in the realm who work in growing crops and raising cattle. Let the king provide funding for those who work in trade. Let the king guarantee food and wages for those in government service. Then the people occupied with their own work will not harass the realm. The king's revenues will be great. When the country is secured as a sanctuary, free of being harried and oppressed, the happy people with joy in their hearts, dancing with children at their breast, will dwell as if their houses were wide open. And go on a little bit more, but I was just so blown away by, you're talking about government and taxes and agriculture. So I'm going, Buddha taught this is 2,600 years ago. Why can't we do that? And it just really touched me that this is that old and we still can't get ourselves together as a society because so many people are suffering. So I just wanted to share that to you, and I would recommend everybody read this sutta. It's a long sutra, but it's a really good sutta.
Yeah, one of the sutras in Digha Nikaya, Kuttadanta Sutta. Thank you, Maria. Yeah, so Buddha's teachings can be so eternal, like it can be applied even today. So many of these teachings are so wonderful, like even these teachings on politics, can be applied even in this ultra-modern techno-savvy world. Can be very helpful. Like we see, we are kind of going too far away from humanity. We become more, more like robotics, right? Machines. So I think we are losing kind of human values because of that. Maybe one day we have to come back to the nature, to the root, to the dharma. I think dharma is always there to guide us in all our different situations. Every time, this is a testing time for you. Whenever you have a difficulty, difficult problem or something, you have, dharma within your grasp and within your reach. You should test yourself. You have to apply. Maybe you need to, if you can do it yourself, maybe you can talk to a wonderful friend who could help with more experience. Yeah, that will be nice. Okay. Right. So King Ashoka was again a very, very important character because King Ashoka was a powerful king and he was called Chanda Ashoka before, a violent Ashoka. Ashoka means no sadness, no sorrow. Ashoka. But this guy, after having many wars won, he conquered many territories, he expanded territories, and especially after Kalinga War, where he executed, he led the war with so much violence and he could not sleep. He was panicking. He had insomnia. He was really stressed. And that time, it is said King Ashoka was really having hard time, although he was a very powerful person. So this Chanda Soka, the person with violent, no sorrow man, he was suffering more than anyone else in the country. Although he was the most powerful person in the country, he was suffering. He could not sleep. He panicked. He was stressed. He could not. He had the reverberation of those people who were suffering in the war. The widows were crying. He heard it, and it was like traumatic for him. And it took so many years for him to get rid of it. It was very, very difficult. That is why finally he found Buddhism as a wonderful solace, a solution for his issue. Remember, he had physical war won, but mentally, internally, he was suffering. Then he found like Chanda Soka became Dharma Soka afterwards. He transformed completely into a different person. And I think the entire history of Buddhist man, changed after that. He changed the Buddhist map. He changed the Buddhist calendar. So King Ashoka's reign is so important. And his practice of non-violence, he completely, dedicated himself to non-violence later. Religious tolerance and welfare for all beings, reflecting Ashoka's effort. In many Ashoka inscriptions and rock edicts, we have these beautiful teachings of the Buddha explained everywhere. So he talked about the tolerance, religious tolerance, for example, very important. And Ashoka's teachings and influence on good governance, I think is really, really nice. And he not only rescued himself from that panic mode, but also he restored the country ever since he turned to this non-violent Buddhist path. And he flourished himself. He changed the country. He developed the country. for a better community, better society. And so he did a lot of activities to promote the Buddha Dhamma. He built so many temples, wrote so many. He marked those Buddhist important Buddhist sites. And even today, if you go to some of the sites like Sarnath in Vaishali, in Lumbini, in Kusinara, we can see those Ashokan rocket pillars. They are really, really important. He sent some Dharma Mahamantras like the Buddhist ministers. He had, public welfare agents everywhere. Very innovative kind of approach to governance. I think in modern day politics, if people learn about the Ashokan philosophy, how Ashoka was ruling that country after that, turning to Dharma. Many people can learn even today so many things. So he left a lasting legacy on this Indian culture and ethical landscape. Really amazing, Ashoka's influence. And Buddhism played a very crucial role in many of these Asian countries. Even today, like for example, Thailand, the king himself is a practicing Buddhist. And he himself became a Buddhist monk for a while. And many countries turn to monks and, they listen to them and they get their advices. Not all of them, we don't say like very good, but if someone is really very sincere and honest, these teaching can be very helpful. Some other countries like where you can see the equanimity, tolerance, and generosity. They are maybe some of those trademarks, features in those countries. Theravada Buddhism and also Mahayana Buddhism, I think. In those countries, they were also very powerful practitioners. So some of those different countries, I think many Mahayana Buddhist countries, like for example, in China, is not so much into religion today, not like before, maybe. Maybe Vietnam, they are more into like social welfare, ideologies, but still those Buddhist practitioners, Mahayana, and even Theravada, they are flourishing there. That's something really important. I think if Buddhist monks and Buddhist leaders, Buddhist communities, they work together hand in hand, they already can make a big difference in their own societies. So monasteries and monks were integral part, I think, to this process. So in Sri Lanka, for example, monks were always leading. They were very powerful, especially today. They can even topple a government. So they are very powerful. And in Thailand also, I think Buddhism is so strong. Myanmar, Buddhism is very strong. Laos, Cambodia, they are more Theravada countries. And you can see some of those, maybe like people in the West, if you go there, you might see them very humble, maybe like very people with very good heart, maybe like very generous. You can see some of the trademark features of Buddhist practices in those societies. So could happen over time due to Buddhist influence.
Just want to share that a few months ago I was in Thailand and I was surprised about seeing around Bangkok and different. I went from the south to the north, visiting different sites, and you can see the big pictures of the king, and a lot of prayers, a lot of people in front of these pictures with flowers, incense, and I was surprised about that. So I'm asking the taxi driver or people in the doing these prayers, and I asked them about how they feel about their king, and they love him. And it was very unusual for me, coming from a country, Mexico, that politics is the opposite that we see today. And I was surprised about that. They respect him and love him in many places in Thailand. So it's very interesting to see that. And also what you share about what not to say, what is unskillful, and talking about the speech. I'm a psychotherapist, and I model to my clients not to engage on those behaviors. It's super easy to be negative or talking about, well, others, and little by little I change my questions. For example, today I ask a man who he's in a lot of physical pain and emotional pain, and I say, okay, what part of your body is not in pain? And he was scanning his body, and he said, well, this finger. Okay. And later, oh, my nose. Well, my ears are not in pain. And he was focusing on the good things. Or also questions like, instead of, oh, how was your week? I said, okay, what works well for you this week? Because if we engage in this false speech or unskillful, eventually we have this behavior every day. So it's part of our behavior, and this is not, well, we can suffer a lot if we repeat again and again those those attitudes, and building new skills. And this is what I love about Buddhism, because they are not rules or precepts that you have to follow because you are going to hell. It's about, okay, this is my point of view, like suggestions. If you can follow the suggestions, maybe you suffer less, or maybe you don't suffer. But suffering is part of life, but also this equilibrium between 10,000 sorrows and 10,000 joys. So it's balanced. So, well, this is my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gabriela. I think like even Mexico is amazing country. Like you had long history of spirituality. You know, we've heard of the Maya, those amazing spiritual practitioners, and also like Native American people, how they were so close to nature. Like even in mainland China, like Taoism, you know, very close to nature. Those people are, I think, more people who are close to the nature. Those who respect the nature, you know, they feel more comfortable people. They are more content. happiness. And like even in India those days, they had devas or gods for everything. If you see a bigger tree, like they call, there is a god, so they respect the tree. Remember, like that way the tree is protected. And then if they see a bigger rock, there is a god, so we have to respect it. So that way the water, Varuna is a deva, and rain is a deva, sun is a deva. It's amazing. Like you become like thankful and grateful to the nature, and that way you come closer to the Mother Earth, and you respect the nature. And I think the dharma is very close to the nature too. Dharma is also the nature in a way. So when you become a practitioner of dharma, eventually you become a nature lover. You start practicing loving kindness. That way, you will become like segregated yourself from all shackles, like where we feel like you are confined to certain limitations. Like when you are into that, you break off all shackles and you are free. You are free. You're from all shackles. You don't, like the Buddha, he went to all different people. Although he was a royal prince, he was so kind to very poor people and men and women. Remember, like that's also really important. Like today, we have a lot of feminists, very strong education system, but those days they didn't have that. Women were cornered, and the Buddha was there to give them liberation. And amazing, like how he was so kind and compassionate to everyone, no discrimination. Those things I think are really, really wonderful. Yeah, I think as you mentioned, like Satipatthana Sutta, if you read more, like Vedana Anupassana, Kaya Anupassana, you literally mention, okay, the pain is in the finger, the nose. So these are also part of Kaya Anupassana. We can also maybe really ask from Maria, and other people, how they also personally, when you undergo certain pressure, certain um, difficulties, um, we have to go through. We have to, find solution through ourselves, because as the enlightenment is within, the problem also is within. We have to find the solution within. That I think is really good. So yeah, I hope Gabriela, you can also lead your community to a more meaningful path by learning more techniques from the Buddha. Yes. All right. Okay, please, before we close, please type and then unmute to say one word. The best describes how you feel after the session. Okay. If you want to say, you are welcome to unmute and say, or just type it, also good. And don't forget to upload your chapter summary to the chapter summaries assignment in Google Classroom, where we've set up a dedicated turning point before this coming Friday. Even if you are already, I see that, I've seen that actually. If you already posted details there in the class stream, please submit it there to avoid any confusion with other chats and posts. And thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evening, and please come prepared for August 8th to share your presentation on Damien Kion's Buddhism, a very short introduction. I look forward to continuing your journey together then. Thank you and have a wonderful evening. See you and be
Thank you,
well,
Bante.
happy and healthy.
Thank you,
Sadhu,
Bunty.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Everyone.
Thank
Sadhu.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Bunty, our next
Bante.
class is
Uh,
tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
No class tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll see you, I think, on 8th, right? We don't have a class tomorrow. Mark, please save the chat.
Yes, I'm on it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vijitanandro.
हाँ
Thank
धन्यवाद सर
you.
जी धन्यवाद सर नहीं
What's up, man? Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Bante. You have a good
Thank you. Okay. Good night.
Yes.